Hi there. So with this video, we're going to be answering the question about what is a bird, besides the word, because everybody knows that the bird is the word. So more specifically, birds are what we refer to as being endothermic. They are warm-blooded animals, so they can create their own body heat. They don't have to move to areas that are warmer in order to keep their body temperature up. They are tetrapods, which means they have 4 feet. And you might say to yourself, well, birds don't have 4 feet, they have 2 feet and 2 wings. But the wings are their forelimbs. Those count as basically their first 2 feet, and their normal feet are the back feet. They have feathers covering their body, again, a pretty unique feature for birds, and they have toothless beaks. You may see beaks with some birds that have a serration on them, kind of like a saw blade that almost looks like teeth, but there are no birds that technically have teeth like in sockets like we do. Many birds are adapted for flight. For that, they have a lightweight skeleton, which semi-hollow bones. They also have a 4-chambered heart to help with their circulatory system being very, very efficient, especially compared to the other animals we've looked at. They have internal fertilization that they go through, so all males deposit sperm inside of females to create embryos. For most males, this is accomplished without a phallus or any type of intermittent organ. Most of it is vent-to-vent transfer. So again, the cloacas, again, that area for expelling waste as well as transferring sex cells, usually have to be in contact with one another in order for the sperm to travel from the male to the female. They are also all oviparous, so when the embryo has developed enough, it does form into an egg that is laid. And again, we're pretty used to the idea of birds sitting on a nest of eggs. They're also all chordates and vertebrates, so they all have that dorsal nerve cord, and they all have a backbone that is around that dorsal nerve cord. So one of the first groups of birds that people tend to think of are some of the flightless birds. We kind of refer to them collectively as ratites. So we have the Apterygiforms, the kiwis, Cassowariiforms, the cassowaries and emus. So that's these ones here. This is the kiwi up here. The Rheiiforms or rheas, like this one, and the Strythioniforms are ostriches, like down here. Most of these animals are pretty darn large and have very long legs. The kiwi is kind of the exception to that rule. They're pretty tiny and have little tiny legs. All of these animals do lay large eggs, even the kiwi relative to its body size. Like, it's a pretty darn big egg. Kiwis also have some other weird features in that they're very small and nocturnal. They're only active at night. These large species, the ones down here, are raised by humans on occasion for meat, eggs, and for leather to make clothing products out of. So here we'll look a little bit more specifically at some individual orders of birds. So this first order we're looking at here are the Galliforms. Galliforms means rooster-shaped. This includes your chickens, grouse, like our greater prairie chicken here, guinea fowl, partridges, peafowl, quail, turkeys. These are mostly heavily bodied birds. They run more often than fly to escape predators. They have limited flight capabilities. They can fly for a short distance, but not very far. They tend to be non-migratory, and they are ground-feeding species. They tend to have a really well-developed crop for kind of breaking down nuts and other things that they eat off the ground. The males, especially, will have spurs on the back of their legs for fighting, and these are often raised by humans for meat, eggs, and sport hunting. Anseriforms is another order. Anseriforms means goose-shaped. So this includes our ducks, so like this, geese, screamers, probably a little less common, but this is part of this order, and swans. These are adapted to life near water. Many of them have webbed feet to help them with paddling along. They also have oil in their feathers to help the water slide off of their body really easily. They tend to have elongate bodies with super long necks, like you see here, especially with the swan. These are also raised by humans for meat, eggs, also for their feathers in terms of pillows. If you've ever heard of like a downy pillow, for example, it may have bird feathers from this order inside of it, and sport hunting. Another order that we'll look at here is the Strigiforms. Strigiforms mean screecher-shaped, and these are all of our owls. So here we've got an eagle owl and a barn owl, kind of looking at two of the major groups of owls, but all of your owls fit into this group. Many are nocturnal. They have enhanced hearing. They actually have ears that are kind of offset on their head to help them pinpoint where prey is very specifically. They have binocular eyesight, so again, like us, they can see very well in terms of depth perception. They're capable of silent flight, which is really intense as far as their ability to sneak up on prey. And they can rotate their heads and necks up to 270 degrees. A lot of people think it's all the way around, but their neck would pop off if they did that. Again, it really has to do with the neck vertebrae that they have. They have twice as many as we do, so they really have a lot more neck to kind of twist their head around with. These are predators. They have talons, those sharp claws on their feet, and curved beaks for tearing flesh. They tend to eat a lot of rodent pests, so they're nice to have around. A similar group here is our order Accipitriformes. So here we're looking at animals that we consider hawk-shaped. So this includes eagles, like the golden eagle here, hawks, like the red-tailed hawk, and vultures, like our turkey vulture here. These are kind of the counterpoint to owls in a lot of ways. They're diurnal, so they're active in the daytime. They also have binocular eyesight, good depth perception like us. They tend to be predators or scavengers. They also have talons, so those sharp toes, hooked beaks for tearing flesh. Many vultures, like our turkey vulture here, do not have feathers around the head, so they can keep themselves clean while they're eating, so that there isn't like pieces of dead meat stuck in their feathers. They tend to eat a lot of rodent pests. Some of them, of course, do eat carrion, so dead animals, so they help clear that, kind of like nature's garbage people. And they are sometimes used in hunting, so like the example that we see down here, especially a lot of hawks historically and eagles historically, but there are still people who practice this to this day. Our order Psittaciformes, so this is all of our birds that we consider to be parrot-shaped. This includes cockatoos and parrots, so like cockatoos, cockatiels, macaws, lorikeets down here. They have very strong curved bills, again, mostly for cracking open nuts and things like that. They have 2 toes on the front of the foot and 2 toes on the back to grip tree bark and branches very easily. They're very well designed for life in trees. They're very intelligent in terms of their problem-solving capabilities, and of course they're famous for being able to imitate human speech in some cases. And they're very, very popular as pets, which is kind of both a good and bad thing for them because sometimes they're brought into the country illegally. Our order Spheniciformes, again, I may mispronounce some of these, small and wedge shape, refers to the shape of their wings. This is all of the penguins. They are aquatic. They're very well designed for life in the water. Their wings actually function like flippers. You'll still see them flapping them, but they help them propel through the water. The feathers retain pockets of air both for buoyancy, so to help balance themselves out, and for thermoregulation to help keep them warm. They also have counter shading, so like what we've talked about with fish, dark top, light bottom, so that if they're viewed from above, they blend in with the dark parts of the bottom of the ocean. If they're viewed from below, they blend in with light reflecting off the surface of the water. They are flightless, and they actually live in a variety of temperatures. This, for example, is a Galapagos penguin, which lives in much warmer climates than the other ones. And wild penguins are not very fearful of humans. In fact, in early expeditions to the Antarctic, they were eaten by explorers there, and so that's what this little photo is down here at the bottom, is a chef preparing one for an exploration. Our order Charadriformes, these are all of our animals that are plover-shaped. So here is a killdeer, which is an example of a plover, but it also includes gulls, puffins, sandpipers. You may associate these with being near water, especially salt water. If you've ever vacationed at the beach, you've probably seen them out there. They do have very long legs for wading in the water and for traveling on top of sand. Some of them are migratory, and you may actually see these in the middle of places that are a little bit farther away from the water if it's part of their migratory pattern. These are sometimes animals that are seen as pests, especially seagulls, for trying to take a lot of human food. Our order Piciformes, so this is woodpecker-shaped birds. This includes barbets, like our red and yellow barbet here, toucans, like the toko toucan, and then woodpeckers. And here with the woodpecker, I'm trying to show one of the features that they have very similar to the parrots. 2 toes on the front of the foot and 2 toes on the back of the foot to help grip tree bark and branches really easily. They also tend to have long bills for going over some of the food that they want to go for. The woodpeckers themselves actually have very long tongues in addition to the long bills. Many of them help with insect pests, but some of them are known for eating fruit crops. So some of them are seen as a benefit to people, some of them are seen as pests. Our order Columbiformes, these are all the dove-shaped birds. This includes doves, pigeons, like our Nicobar pigeon here. They have short and slender bills for eating seeds. Very popular as pets. They have been eaten as food before, if you've ever heard of squab. They are used in sport hunting, and they've been used in military service for delivering messages, even as recently as World War II. They are famously have been made extinct a couple of times by people, including the dodo bird, of course, is actually part of this order, and the passenger pigeon, which used to survive all throughout the United States, but now is completely extinct. The order Passeriformes, so this is pretty much where all the other birds, almost all the other birds, end up in. These are our sparrow-shaped birds. This includes blackbirds, bluebirds, cardinals, chickadees, crows, finches, jays, meadowlarks, ravens, robins, sparrows, starlings, lots of different types of songbirds. They all end up in here. This is more than half of all the bird species belong to this order, so it's a really big order of birds. They perch well on branches due to their toe arrangement. They've got 3 toes in the front and 1 in the back to help them with gripping branches, especially little thin twigs. It does really well for that. They have a wide variety of songs and vocalizations. You've probably seen a lot of these animals before, so sparrows, cardinals, robins. When we look here at crows and their relatives, jays and ravens, they actually have really great problem-solving intelligence. And then when we look at some, like the zebra finch down here at the bottom, some of these are animals that are kept as pets. Zebra finches are a good example of it. But you probably see a lot of these animals through bird watching or having a bird feeder set up. And again, if you're looking on Classroom, this video here from BBC Earth shows a crow going through a problem-solving technique, multiple steps to complete a problem, kind of a good show of the crow intelligence. Very fascinating video of their intelligence. Some other notable bird orders that I didn't want to cover in as much detail, but if you were wondering, like, hey, where does this bird go? Siconiformes are all of our storks. Carassiformes are our kingfishers. Again, another one that's designed to capture prey near the water's edge. Falconiformes are all of the falcons. Gruiformes are all of the cranes. Pelicaniformes are herons and pelicans belong in that group. And Phenacopteriformes are all of our flamingos. They belong in that group. So again, I hope that this has helped to kind of clarify some of the different groups of birds, what makes them distinct, and some of the features that help make them distinct from other types of animals as well.